We are back.
We are.
Hello.
Steve Rooney.
Where? This guy.
Technique.
No thanks, I've eaten.
Technique myths.
Technique
around-
myths. You cannot be an effective guy in a band if you have lousy technique. Myth. Some drummers in very high profile bands have the most basic of techniques. It does not matter a jot when they're just playing song drumming. Like, it just doesn't matter. I think it's I'm not going to name anyone, as having bad technique, but if I think about all my favourite bands, bands, none of the drummers have anything much going on in terms of technique.
Sure.
They just play what they need to play.
That's right.
And their most important technique is actually knowing when not to play stuff so that the rest of the framework of the band kind of makes sense.
Technique almost gets in the way in that sense, doesn't it? Of thinking drum stuff when you should be thinking music.
Being drummy, I think, can really hamper. But then, technique for some stuff does make... Like if you go in a recording studio and put a track down, if you've got sloppy technique, you get lots of nasty ghosting and down the mics and stuff. I remember one... if I go back to being a kid, the first time I ever went in a proper recording studio, like I'd been in some amateurish outfits, but we went into this place in the north of England, and the engineer, I was really impressed. He'd done a couple of my favourite records. He'd done Floodlands by Sisters of Mercy.
Oh, wow.
I was a terrible goth as a kid. Like I had the black coat and the mullet all back home, way too many earrings and all that, and crosses. I don't know what the cross thing was. I wasn't even a Christian. So I looked like Dracula. Dracula that fell in my mum's cupboard. So we went in this studio and this guy had done Floodland. So I was uber impressed, even though there's actually no drums on it. It's a Roland drum machine. And he'd worked with Def Leppard as well. So I was kind of overawed. Nice. And I went in there and I'm tracking away and talking to technique. I'm sitting there and it's a ballad. And I've got my hair. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm feeling it. Wasn't even that nice. I made it sound nicer than it was. And I'm clicking on the side of the snare drum. Like I'm going like, that's a sweet little click. Like this. Gorgeous. And he came in, he went, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? Because I heard the track stop and it was taped then. So I heard the kind of, just dropped out of my headphones. I don't know, because I'm only 18. I'm quite nervous. And I'm like, I'm just playing this pan like,
but not as good as that.
But not even as sexy as that. I've sexed that up.
Yeah, he did.
It's more like bot, click, bot, click, like that. So he comes in and I'm playing like what I thought was a cross stick. And, I had no technique. Nobody had ever shown me what a cross stick was. There were no drum teachers in my town. You had to get on a bus and do 25 miles to see a drum teacher. And so he took the stick off me, and it was the most embarrassing thing ever, because this dude, I really looked up to him. And he actually took the stick out of my hand. He went, no, get out of the way. And he wasn't even a drummer. And he sat down and he laid the stick sideways across the snare and went like that.
That woody...
that beautiful clip. It was like he'd brought a Shire horse in and just got it to tap its foot. It was so sexy. And this dude's not even a drummer. And that is the hard way of finding out that your technique sucks. Or when you get in a studio and they've got proper bass drum mics and you hit the kick drum and then you hear... after you finished, like there's somebody in the bass drum just going, it's very nice. Very nice.
Can you hit the bass drum once when you
just once would be good?
And then you're like, no, I can't.
We don't want the other 9 grace notes. And they have to gate it, and it all just sounds like it's horrible. And it's because your technique's balls, basically, and you don't realize you're even doing it. So I guess my point with technique is it's only a tool. It's a thing that you need to develop in order to get what you want out of your drum set. If you want to be a fusion great, you need advanced, as Dave Weckl would
That's right. Sure.
You need advanced technique.
But see, what we sort of came back to, I think, I don't want to speak for everybody.
Speaking for me again.
I like it when he speaks.
Oh, God.
It's so personal.
He does it a lot quicker than we do.
I feel like it's so personal that you can't uniformly say this is the right bass drum technique, this is the right hand technique. To stop those grace notes on the bass drum, it might have been something really particular on that day, or that pedal or you. Whereas it might not have been for me on a different session.
I think it was my Nike's high tops.
That's probably what it was.
That'd be it.
The
The
pumps.
extra weight.
The wrong socks.
But there's no fix, right?
Yeah.
There's not one fix for this.
I think awareness is where it starts.
Yeah.
You just need to be aware that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like if nobody ever points it out, you just have no idea. You even know
exactly.
what, you don't even know what technique is.
Yeah.
Amazing, like the rim click sort of side of things, because that takes a while to actually develop that. And to have that in your back pocket, regardless what snare drum you're playing on, what hoops are there, and what, I intrinsically know where it should be.
You sit down and
And
go,
backwards?
and
Backwards stick?
Yeah.
No, I'm always
never.
forwards.
Oh, I know.
I'm always the other way.
Has anyone seen that beautiful jazz band around town? They're all really old. They're like probably 80, something like that.
Must be Frank, is it?
It's probably Frank.
No, it's not.
It's not
No,
Frank?
it's not Frank Gibson. No, it's this old dude because I loved his technique so much. Not his technique, actually, his sound. But he did the reverse backstick thing, and it was a cast hoop. I think it was an old Premier snare or something like that, and it sounded like that. It was just gorgeous.
Sample.
It was the Shire Pony.
Yeah.
Come in, come in from Lord of the Rings. I bless thee.
It has an elf on it. Long
A
flowing
unicorn.
Let's shuffle along nice and quickly.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Two-handed, one-handed. What? Doing the swing ride.
Yeah. So
Texas Shuffle. All right. Teaching. So one of the big things that will pop up online. You can't. You're a failed player, so you teach.
because- yeah.
Those that can't play
Like,
teach.
No,
Thoughts.
I love that.
My first thought is I haven't heard that very often.
Really?
I've come across it, I guess, once or twice, but I don't really feel that that's representative of the vast majority of teachers.
This
I
is a
know.
comments section.
Yeah, it's
thing.
definitely a comments thing. It's
It's
more
Facebook
yeah, and-
comments.
Yeah.
Oh, I never
YouTube
look at
comments.
that. I find that people who are leaving those comments, usually they've got their own beef and they're actually talking about themselves or their own.
Correct.
It's a lot of
Nice.
prejudice
Yeah.
coming through, and they've got these little niggly things that they just need to get off their chest. And I would suggest therapy for that, not
That's right.
comments, because your comments will probably just make you feel worse
That's right.
afterwards.
Especially when someone comments on your comments.
Oh, commenting on commenting.
Yeah.
What's
then-
next?
Or even commenting.
Actually, I
on
know what's
commenting
next.
on
Commenting on commenting on commenting.
Yeah. Just too many comments.
So failed player.
Horrible.
Well, right. So what? We need
It's
to
like
pass
teaching's a
this little bit.
second, like a second
Secondary
option.
thing.
Like,
What
couldn't-
is a failed
like
player?
a B team.
My definition of a successful player is somebody who learned to play and then went and applied it here, there, and everywhere for years and years and years.
and loves the drums.
And lives
it.
lives with drums constantly in their lives. Like you don't need to be, massively famous to be a successful and happy musician.
No.
And I think that's a thing that I kind of arrived at that through having career highs and then plumbing the depths and riding that wave, which is working in that industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think I had to come to terms with quite a lot of stuff that it's just not in everybody's stars to be the Uber player.
No.
And it's your own journey. So as far as failed players go, well, show me all the things you did and then we'll talk about
That's
who
right.
failed.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
But the other thing is, like you mentioned before, you'd actually prefer teaching.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people would. Maybe they wouldn't believe that or understand what it's like when you played so many gigs. You've done those late load-ins, those
Yeah.
late load-outs, and teaching. You're in your happy place.
Yep.
You're on your kit. I'm not shifting anything around. Got a good relationship with parents, with
Yep.
students.
That's right.
It can be a nice environment.
I think that because as a
Can be.
It's a can of worms.
Can be.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but a lot of like gigging musicians, that's what it is for them. Because a lot of people can't see outside of their sphere. This is what I like, so that's what it is. And so, and maybe even with the success thing, it's like, what is success? Who knows what success is? Your success is different from mine. So, but then people have in their mind that this is my success, so this is what everyone thinks about. And it's like, well, no, actually, it's not the case at all, It's like having kids and stuff like that. Some people just don't want to have kids. Some people have kids. Some people have too many kids.
I lived a lot of that life so that other people don't have to, If I could tell you, like these are the pitfalls, this is horrible, these are good things and these are horrible things. And honestly, being brutally frank, most of the things as a kid that I thought were going to make me happy kind of didn't. And the simple stuff that was unexpectedly rewarding.
Yeah.
after a while, you have to start to see the signs and recognize this is making me deeply unhappy. Like being a touring musician for years and being in bands, I'll be honest, there was more times where I was frustrated and unhappy than the so-called unsuccessful times because there were just higher things that we were going for. And so the pitfalls were bigger. Like between tours, I did 4 big tours in 2003. I remember it vividly. We did 4 big tours. And when I say big, I mean like big venues, supporting very large acts. And I was homeless for 6 weeks between tours. I didn't have enough time to get anywhere to live. I slept in my car in an alley. So I came home from, we did 3 weeks with Anthrax. I came and I slept, so we did Anthrax. And then Typo Negative, you remember the band? We went to Scandinavia with them.
Awesome.
And I think it was after that I came back and I slept in the car that we'd followed them around with. And I think that went on for 6 weeks and I didn't have time to or money, because we hadn't made any money on that. The tour support was non-existent and we were going to do 6 weeks around the UK and Western Europe with Machine Head. And that was 2003. And I knew that was coming up. So I just lived in the car. Like I had nowhere to live.
I mean, you're not going to be doing that forever, right?
No, exactly.
exactly.
And I guess this is my point. Like if I look back on that, they're the things that look, kind of cool on your CV.
Yeah.
But I was deeply unhappy for much of that time. I remember like ragging my gear out of the bus or whatever, and I booted my suitcase to pieces in the middle of Barcelona and had a proper rock star blowout. I threw a bottle across the stage. We did this gig where there was like multiple power cuts. And as a drummer, like when everyone else's gear stops, you're the only guy who keeps going.
Why is
he still playing?
I don't care that it's dark.
So I had some proper rock star meltdowns, and it's all just frustration and unhappiness. And honestly, it's more rewarding to go home to your kids that love you and be able to provide for them and have a stable home.
And you're stable.
And I'm emotionally just, a bit more complete. I miss certain things, but I really don't miss other things.
I miss the idea of that sweet moment when you're playing with a band with a bunch of other dudes and it's really happening.
Oh,
I love that.
Great feeling.
Yeah, the camaraderie is really amazing.
That's so amazing.
Bro, that's why we all do it. That's the thing that it's really hard to get.
But then
really hard to maintain as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's one night it's great, the next night it's not so much.
It's not
you're
constant, that's the thing.
You're trying to get back there.
That can be down to a monitor mix. It could be down to
anything,
lots of things.
So many factors, exactly.
But then sometimes, like, as a working player, like I was doing things on assignments and getting paid for it and stuff. There were some people I played with that was seriously like controlling, narcissistic, caustic people who almost made me want to quit playing at all.
Is that what you're saying about me?
I'm looking at you.
Yeah, you're looking at me.
But I'm talking about him.
There were others in the spring fraternity that really got
so I was bloody spring. No, but when you meet somebody who indulges in gaslighting and makes it feel like it's all you, and you magnify that by a 4 or 5 piece band, and it's actually them that's doing this.
Sure.
And you're in pressurized situations. Like I remember I did this South by Southwest. So we went over there and did this thing, and unfortunately the person I went with, their manager was a real piece of work, like really not a good person at all, and they ruined that entire thing. That thing, which like I say should have made me intensely happy, was for me just going over there, doing one gig and sitting in a hotel room kind of drinking alone for 2 days. So where's the
this is actually, we've led into the next topic here, which is what it's actually like to be a pro drummer. This is overlapped into this already, which is good. So you're getting into exactly what we covered, is that how things appear, or the Instagram photo you see of a person that might be hiding a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
There might be a bad story behind that. Great picture,
It's tons of those.
A lot of bad stories.
You hear about that all the time, about like a person going, saying that, everyone's going, wow, that was such a great tour. And then the musician's talking back about, on that tour, this happened and this happened. My dad died and I couldn't get back and you know, and I was doing
You're
this
committed.
and you can't leave and you're stuck in this situation.
So much of touring is subsistence level. I remember like gigging around, especially in Europe, because we didn't have a support network. And this isn't just one band, this is multiple bands where we would crash on people's floors and stuff, or stay in people's houses, and literally rocking up to European capital cities that I'd never been to. We didn't know anyone there. We didn't know where we were going to sleep that night. Sometimes the headline band would have like what's called a day room, which the tour manager has arranged just so that people can go and crash during the day and shower and whatever. And we might be able to blag that for the night, or there might be somebody in the crowd who's emailed you previously and said, you're coming into town, we'd love to meet up with you. And you're like, there's my bed.
Yes.
Can you accommodate 8 of us? I know you only meant our guitarist, but can we all stay?
Yeah.
Do you have food?
Would it kill you to put a spag bowl together?
So like so much of it is subsistence level, and like I don't feel like anyone really admits it a lot of the time. They're just like, oh, this all looks great on paper, but actually what you're really doing a lot of the time is, it's funny you asked me, you know, like this is about us talking about what's it like to be a professional musician. I'm actually quite hungry. So the first thing I thought of was hungry. It's true. Like, a lot of the time, you know, there's not enough money. You have to survive on whatever's in the dressing room.
Right.
Like a certain headline band that left us one packet of Kit Kats between.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm not going to say who it was, but obviously they hadn't got the time to do anything else.
No.
There's an audio book by Henry Rollins. I think it's called Get in the Van.
Yeah.
You've heard that?
Yeah, I think I've read it.
I think at one point they were eating dog food.
Were they really?
Like,
oh my God.
Like it was...
But he wasn't
rough.
quite a regime. He probably just needed the protein.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was Black Flag. But the thing is, like, Black Flag were already a band when he joined them. He was a fan.
Yes.
And then he joined. And oh my God, I'm living the dream. And that...
He was frustrated and disappointed with his bandmates because they weren't producing the goods. Like he often said that. Can you imagine the gas in that van after they've been eating dog food? So much of gigging together is like, boys and fart jokes, isn't it? Or girls and fart.
I mean, at this age, my age now, touring around New Zealand in a van.
That's not
4 people.
Not the one. Like,
plus a sound roadies or whoever
Do you know
else.
what? I used to think when I was a kid and I'd never done it, I used to think that touring in a bus, like a proper tour bus with lounges and stuff, was the zenith. It was the dream. It seems exciting, and then when you get on that bus, like it's cool for a couple of days and everyone's hanging out, and then it really starts to stink like a U-boat. And you've got like 5 bands and maybe 3 or 4 crew guys, and you know you're going to be on this bus for like 30 days. And it starts to stink, and nobody's allowed to poop on the bus on the back lounge. So yeah, it's just not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't not do any of it.
Yeah, sure.
But
right.
it's not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like the touring around New Zealand in a van. Like when I was, 19, 20, 21, I did a fair bit of that. And I did enough of it to actually know that I really don't like this. You know?
It's like, cold and grotty and uncomfortable.
4 or 5 dudes here who really stink, you know? And it takes,
I'm one of them.
And I'm holding up my end.
I'm the worst.
You know?
I never...
And it's like...
It was worse. Fresh.
It's all good. Smelling your own, everyone likes their own brand, right?
But it's like showering in truck stops and stuff like that. Nobody ever tells you that. And then you end up showering in your socks or standing on a cardboard box. Because a lot of those venues, their dressing rooms are super grotty. So you're standing on a piece of cardboard or something.
Gosh.
Nobody ever talks about the verrucas.
Yeah.
No one ever talks about liquid nitrogen.
All right. No.
Sorry, bro. It's just like it's a variation on a theme, certainly down to like you don't necessarily have to be in like the arena side of things and like the sort of the Instagrammable photos and all of that sort of thing, but even down to just playing weddings and playing like pub gigs week in and week out, like that. Once it starts to become a chore, you know. Whereas to other people, it's like, oh, you're gigging, you're all over the place, and it looks really glamorous, you know? And it's, you know, you're making money from doing it, and it's like, when you start to get a little bit, I guess, neggy on it, when you start to get a little bit negative on as to, I don't know whether I'm really into this.
Yeah.
And you start sort of thinking in terms of hours that you're actually putting into this to go and drive to wherever or to set up and all that stuff.
It's continually disruptive in your life. Like it doesn't have to be touring. It could just be trips away where you just do one gig or whatever. But you could come home with having made no money and you've been gone for 3-4 days.
Yeah.
Well, you can only do that a few times in the month, and then it's rent day or mortgage day, and you're like, I'm knocking. I haven't got anything.
That's right.
Well, we were talking off camera just around like, say it's a wedding gig, and you've got to, you got to go up north, you got to go to an island, so then there's a ferry, and then there's that. We're talking a weekend here.
Yeah.
Like this is a weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, I'm going to take a great Instagram photo and it's going to look really good. Me at a really flash wedding and there's people going off and all that sort of stuff. That's cool. But that's probably about as cool as it gets.
Yeah.
Because we may or may, like what we're saying around gigs and whatnot as to whether everyone's playing great and it's all sort of happening and it's firing. It's tough to
Sometimes
land
you're really on less than minimum wage when you go do a gig. Or,
completely.
If you 6 hours for $100.
Yeah,
exactly.
$1,000. Let's say you got $1,000 each gig on Waiheke, which to most people, $1,000 to play the drums.
Yeah.
That's your whole weekend's gone.
Yeah.
Which even when you first start doing those type of gigs, even that bit's fun. Because you're away with the band.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't believe we actually got hired to do this gig. And it's like,
we pay tax too, don't we, boy?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, gosh.
So,
Yes, we do. And we'd like to thank the Inland Revenue Department for this.
you take out your tax and your dinner if you're not getting fed at the gig or lunch or breakfast the next day. And and then what you're left with divided by the hours you were there.
Yeah.
And you might,
It's below minimum wage.
Yeah. It'd have to be pretty high to be really macking that kind of gig,
Derek Roddy came over here and did a clinic, and he was talking to us afterwards about
the actual financials of it and stuff.
Yeah, I think he came back. And the whole band each owed 10 grand.
Oh,
yeah.
10 grand. And he had the best rock and roll story ever. His way of making money was actually selling pythons.
Yeah.
That was his thing. He bred pythons.
Still does.
And I think he said that he got like a standard python would be $5,000, something like that.
Amazing.
But then if he managed to mix 2 pythons together and they came out a cool color, then he would get like $7,000.
The bass player in a certain quite well-known American band, he told us one night, actually after soundcheck or something, he was a weed dealer back home. He just sold weed.
that was actually how he made his money.
That was how he made money, because they didn't, and they were pretty high profile, but he wasn't making much off that tour, and he'd be gone for weeks at a time. And I've definitely had experiences where we've gone away for weeks and we've done pretty well, and the crowds have been good and stuff. And I guess it's a long time ago. It's when before I moved here, but we'd go home and like, where's the money? Well, we had to pay the tour manager, and he was on way more than you were. And you just go home with very little. And what you're surviving on a lot of the time is your T-shirts or what have you, surviving on your merch.
Like the level of accounting and level of like business sort of, or lack thereof, seems to be so rife in that sort of world as well. I mean, Dave Lombardo was really outspoken about it with Slayer. Like going out and playing like 80 shows in a year, and he literally made 60 grand.
Yeah.
And this isn't like forever ago.
And his name's on the ticket, then the band's name's on the ticket. Who should be making the money? But,
someone's making money.
Somebody's making money somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's move along again.
Yes.
This is the last one, and then we can actually hit our topic.
Okay, all right.
Hey!
Size 11, Andrew. What else do you want to know?
Social media. You've already sort of touched on it, that you're not a big... you're not into the comment section. You're not...
I'm ambivalent, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I sometimes see things on Instagram and go like, whoa, wow, that's amazing. Like, how long did that take to sort of get that together?
And then it's gone.
Very cool. And then, And so I'll give that a quick like, but I'm a bit of a techno idiot as well. Like, something came up this morning, Dan, you'd put a story on. I'm like, I'll try and like that. And I couldn't. It'd already gone. My other fat thumbs were trying to carry a tray of coffee. I'm like, well, he'll understand.
Same way. Like, I only figured out that you can like stories and I don't actually know how to do it. But
I didn't even know that.
Sometimes to a story, and I don't know how to like a story.
These things come through, and you get these little love hearts, which is wonderful. You know, after you've leg pressed 3 tons. And
Only you've got now. We haven't
seven vans. You know, and it's like, oh, there's a little love heart. I don't know who the hell that's actually from.
They love your thighs.
It's like quads, leg day, never skip.
YouTube content, like I'm too anal about it. Like I start filming stuff and then go, oh no, that's not going to hold up. No, I don't like that.
No, man.
And I'd had experiences like, because I wrote for 2 magazines as well. I had columns in initially Rhythm, which was 2002 or 3 or possibly both, I can't remember. And I was in Drummer magazine as well. So I wrote and I had to provide content for that. And both times I kind of got blindsided that the thing you were writing about, I thought it was topic based. And then they said to me, actually, no, could you film it or record it? And some of the things, you know, when you get that at short notice and you're struggling to come up with a topic, I didn't particularly enjoy that pressure of trying to deliver it and make it pristine. And like I say, I'm a little bit controlling of that. So to me, the idea of doing something that I'm possibly not going to nail, I don't want to just dash it off and put it out there to the world. There's a whole generation after such, you know, old timers as me that are just like really comfortable with that. I'm not. And I put my hands up and say, like, it's just because it's not my comfort zone, you know. My comfort zone is being behind a band. I became a drummer because I didn't want to stand at the front.
Yeah, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy at the back.
I just want to be behind my cymbals, you know, and really enjoy myself in that little world.
That's right.
So it doesn't necessarily extend to wanting to be all over media.
So we were talking about like the online behavior and how it's become quite prevalent. Just, I don't know, you don't like a drummer, so you get in there and you let everybody know how bad that drummer is. So I guess we were sort of coming at it more from that lack of respect angle.
Yeah. It's a really bankrupt thing to do, isn't it? Like, where's your humanity? Like,
what are you doing?
You don't know anything about that person.
No. So like it popped up, for example, Travis Barker won Drummer of the Year, Drummer of the Year. And of course, you know, he's covered in tattoos. He's, you know, this and that. He's very, very famous. So everyone wants to chop him down. It's not his fault he won it.
He probably didn't even put himself in there.
No, it's voted by the...
And that was his work with
user
Taylor
voted
Swift that had got him that, was it?
Probably
he was touring.
He does
Taylor.
a lot of hip hop and
he's doing Machine Gun Kelly sort of stuff as well.
Maybe that's who I was thinking of.
It wasn't really related to anything. It was just it's basically a popularity contest, isn't it?
Yeah, he got voted for and he won fair and square.
Why would you then comment and say he sucks? Such and such is way better.
Because the people who are doing that have had no life experience. They don't know what it is to feel pressure. And to either nail it or fail. They don't know what that's about. It's hard. So you might just about be able to scrape through a thing, but can you make it pristine? Because that's what you're judged on. If you can't make it pristine, then people are going to probably slam you for it. They have no right to do it. And the people who can't do it themselves shouldn't be doing it to other people either.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's fair. I'm going to just, you know, like cite an example. A fictitious example, not real.
Use my name. Go.
Chris said this 15-year-old from Wisconsin. No, I just think it's unfair for, let's say, a late teen who's been playing 5 years to go online and criticize, I don't know,
Ash Stone. Or something
Ashley Stone or whatever, you know.
Lars.
Like an established legend of the game. Like, what are you going to get out of that? Well, like,
where's your humility? You know, what do you know? He has lived it. He not only nailed that paradiddle before you were born, he's gone out and dedicated his life. And until you're older, you don't know what that even means. He's lived it. He's gone on stage and done it with sweat in his eyes after his relative died, and he's still got to go on. He's lived that. He's put up with being on that bus. He's been in that rehearsal room for 3 weeks trying to do this. You can tell I'm getting annoyed, like it bugs me.
Oh no,
I'm the same. Because it's like a lot of the time, like it's just taken from such a narrow viewpoint, and it's like certainly amongst the metal fraternity are great in that they are so passionate, and then there's a huge amount of loyalty, brand loyalty, and love for what we do, and that's all wonderful. But so, like, trying to take a pot shot at a legend, that's just particularly unwise.
Usually says more about them than it does about the person that they're aiming at.
Yeah.
Correct. People are very brave online.
We noticed it with the with Taylor Hawkins passing away.
Man.
And then you'll get people coming out. Some people just clearly came out and said, "Oh, they'll say something like, well, the band always sucked," or then the other one was, well, anyone could do that gig. I could do that gig. Someone said they were in a Foo Fighters tribute act and they could do that gig.
But you're not doing that
conversation.
gig.
You're not even at the starting point. Like, this isn't even a thing.
Do they know how?
No.
Do they know the years of dedication to even get in the situation where somebody would offer you that gig?
Yeah.
You don't know.
You've got a guy who's a second front man, sensational drummer, powerhouse, showman.
Yeah.
So out the front singing his ass off, telling jokes.
Just on a human level. That guy wasn't very old.
No.
And the light just went out. I was never a fan of Foo Fighters. I respected him as a drummer. But on a human level, some kids now don't have their dad, all due to that sort of excessive circus.
That's right.
Allegedly. I mean, I don't actually know, but the circus element of it is a huge part of the deal.
Yeah,
constant
and it's a
pressure.
thing that I saw back in the day where people would fall by the wayside because of all that stuff. And some people from great heights, like a band we toured with a long time ago, their career came to eclipse ours, and then one of the band members did something heinous, and we watched that from afar and thought, you destroyed our memories of you. Our scene is busted because of you. And that whole circus and everything that gets sucked into it, if you're not aware of what that lifestyle is, I don't think you should comment on somebody else's artistic endeavors,
No.
It is, I mean, the whole comment thing is really bizarre these days. I mean, there are the troll things. I don't understand trolls. Like, I will just put a comment in there. It's negative towards whatever these people are talking about. It could be anything, but they just want to chuck that in there, just to get a reaction. And I don't understand that, because it's like, well, I mean, if you tell a joke, you want to see the person's reaction, and so if you say it online and then you don't see any reaction, then the joke is redundant, isn't it? It's like it's pointless. So if you're thinking about like saying something negative about something, maybe do the whole write a letter, burn it sort of scenario, or whatever it is. Just imagine if I said this.
Are you describing putting a hex on somebody?
So yeah,
You get a little dog.
and
You rub it in salt, and at midnight you bury it under a dog.
The other dangerous thing here, if you're let's say, it's not only younger players who do this, it's all ages who can do this kind of thing.
Adults can be like just as fickle, if not more so.
Yeah, and like, let's say you're commenting and it's a status thing, and I'm better. He won Drummer of the Year. I'm better than him.
Yeah.
And let's say you're serious about you do want to progress your career. You've just put this thing online to make yourself look like a complete tool.
Exactly.
Like, who's going to hire that guy?
I think if you're just looking at somebody being better or worse than you, then you've possibly got a slightly skewed view of what being a hippie or what life is about, actually. I mean, there's a great Jordan B. Peterson, you read that book, 12 Rules for Life?
Yeah.
It's a brilliant book. I know he gets a lot of bad press lately anyway. But his whole deal in one of the chapters is, don't compare yourself to everybody else. Compare yourself to how you were previously. The day before, the week before. It's much more satisfying because you can rate your own progress. If your benchmark for your own success is just how you rate compared to people you have no relationship with at all, you're lost in the wind.
But like, even in this room, we're all in the same world. I don't care. Like, I'm not thinking, I wonder if I'm better than, or is he better than me? Or are you getting better gigs? I couldn't care less. You
come to a point in your playing, and I guess in your musical journey, where it's like, I don't really care where I fit in. Well, it's like I just play like me.
It's at the point you realize it is a journey. That's when the penny drops.
That's right.
That, like,
There's no
going
destination
to this destination. You're already on it. And it took me quite a while. I had to see myself getting older and really feel that to understand that this is not about that end point. And some of the things that you've done previously, I wish I'd just sort of stopped and had a word with myself as I did it.
I certainly think that when I was hanging out with a certain drum teacher, and I really felt that I was much better than what I was. And I realize that now. I go, how painful. Just one of the great ones. Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you anyway. This is awful. This is awful.
Lay it out, man.
I was at a gig. There was a band headlighting, and he's got his drum kit set up, and it's a 4-piece kit, and he goes, obviously he wanted to keep the kit on there because it was all sound checked and everything, and he said, you can use your own drum kit, but it would be better if we used mine. I'm going, cool, and he goes, do you want to use my drum kit? And I look at him and go, nah, mate, I've got a 6-piece kit.
Yeah.
Sweat. Yeah. What did Dennis Chambers think of that?
Gosh. It's just going pre-internet-y sort of stuff. Like, I can remember when it was Modern Drummer magazine came out, and the numbers were dropping, so they decided to put some of more modern drummers in there. So they put Dave Grohl in it. I don't know whether you guys remember this. Like he was like on the cover, and all these people were up in arms because it's like, no, this magazine's for trained musicians. And in the interview, he said that, well, I sort of know what a paradiddle is, but I don't really know because he's just playing what he's been playing. He's playing amazing. Doesn't know all the technical stuff. But at the front of the magazine, they had like comments and stuff like that, and it just went on. And I can remember it was 2.5 years later they had to stop it, and they actually put a thing in there saying, we are now going to stop this Dave Grohl comment section because all the comments that we're getting from this, in this section are from this thing like 2.5 years or 2 years ago, sort of thing. And it was really unusual things like religious people were writing in saying that it had some sort of negative religious content in there and all that sort of stuff.
Modern Drummer?
Yeah.
I've long thought they were Satanists.
Well, yeah, that's right, yeah. They were because they had Dave Grohl.
It does have a little bit of a sniff about Satanism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's a little just Crowleyism.
That's such a drum head approach to drumming.
Yeah.
That is the technique thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, Dave Grohl, to me, he's one of my drum heroes.
Sure.
I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but like you saw him recently, he did Smells Like Teen Spirit. Did you see that? I didn't see that? He recently played it. I don't know what the show was. He jumped on and played along with the track. It sounded like the recording.
Wow.
And this is 30 years after he recorded the track. Absolutely killed it. Every rim shot was like a sample. Bashing, the hairs flying, and all dun 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 brr, ba, ba, all the cool
all the
stuff.
Things,
all right
just
there.
all in there. But then you would hope it would be, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But you think that is so good.
Yeah.
I often get that with singers when you hear them sing and you're like, my God, it sounds just like the record. Well,
yeah,
why wouldn't it? It's them on the record.
It's just that confidence and that attitude, and it's just, that's infectious to see, and it's certainly infectious to play with as well. If you get a singer that turns up at soundcheck and, hey, can we just have a little bit of vocal and just full bore belt a cappella, and it's like, let's roll, because we usually
we're going to get into that.
We're going to get there, but it's, that's definitely like a Grohl thing as well. Like it's like I've seen that clip and like literally
sometimes you can sort of you can feel that aura coming off somebody when you meet them, like Paul Simonon, the bass player from The Clash. Like I did a crew gig between professional playing stuff. I used to do crew work sometimes, and I did some crew work with, it was Damon Albarn and you know that drummer Tony? Yeah, it was Nigerian, so he did this Afrobeat thing. Anyway, the reason I mention it is Paul Simonon was the bass player in that, and like from 50 feet away, this dude just radiated this like, I am that dude from The Clash. I am everything that you think I am. I am super cool.
Wow.
It was like he was like in his own bubble of cool,
just outrageous confidence.
Yeah, just total confidence. Just not in an awful way. Just like perfect, calm. That's what you want in a rock star.
Yeah,
exactly. That's wicked.
Well, maybe we should wrap it up there, and we'll hit our topics. It's going to get spicy.
Spicy topics.
Let's go. Spicy. Vindaloo.